Today we have potentially some of the biggest news on Nitro of 2020 so far, going under a news post simply titled Leaderboard Changes. Let us get right into this because this is very, very important. Hey there, Nitro. Just a quick blog post today to update you on some changes rolling out over the next few weeks. So, we're gonna read this thing, and then I'm going to talk about what it means for a lot of different things, basically. And because this is such a big update that's going to be happening soon, it's important enough for me to talk about it for a while. We've had a great time upgrading Nitro lately, adding everything from animated vehicles to the brand new track, and over the coming months you can expect a lot of cool new features to buff up your favorite bits of the game as well. Everything from a brand new way to obtain the limited time animated cars to new social goodies, stickers, customizations, and more. So obviously some of the things that Nitro is referencing coming up recently are going to be the things like the item shop, obviously Season 30, more animations, all that type of stuff. We're super stoked to see what you think. Part of improving the game is always reviewing what we currently have, making sure it's fun, functional, and for everyone. One area we've been tracking for the last year didn't quite meet these expectations: the leaderboards. Now, before I go on with the news post, they're absolutely right. The leaderboards have obviously been one of the most controversial parts of Nitro. Other typing sites look upon Nitro for having activity leaderboards as being stupid, right? It's dumb to reward people for playing the game a lot instead of rewarding people for actually being skillful at typing. However, Nitro has had leaderboards for an infinitely long time on this site, right? I bet that every single person watching right now has never had a time on Nitro when there's been no leaderboards, including myself, right? Leaderboards are a standard fixture of Nitro, and no one was thinking they would be going anywhere. We try to always maintain a balance with our social features to be fun while also promoting healthy play. Unfortunately, and before I go on, the word healthy play there is extremely important. Unfortunately, the leaderboards were not up to the standard. The leaderboards have become so competitive that the amount of racing required to even show up on them has crossed that line into what we truly believe to be an unhealthy requirement. So this is one of the reasons that Nitro has been against grinding and against like huge sessions and stuff like that, is because if you play Nitro, if you type consistently for a very long amount of time, like a lot, it's not the best for your health. It really isn't. Any top grinder who actually does it themselves will know that it's really not the best for your health, and you're better off not doing it. So Nitro seems to be looking out for people's health here. When we looked at what players wanted out of Nitro versus what the leaderboards were doing, there was a mismatch. Competition between trusted friends is great and will always be a central part of Nitro, but a leaderboard featuring the top 100 in a game with millions of players did not do that. So, at the end of Season 29, we'll be retiring the leaderboards entirely. Oh, wait. I actually know, because I haven't read this article yet. They're just straight up getting rid of them. Yo, let's go! Oh my god! That's insane. Holy cow. I didn't think they would actually do it. That's incredible. You see, Travis sent out a DM like a week or so ago to a bunch of different people in the Nitro community, and I'm going to share this because he sent it out to like 50 different people. Everyone knows about it by now. Basically asking whether or not they would agree with the leaderboards being removed. And when I received that, I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance. And I sent a nice response. I was like, yes, I think they should be removed. And we talked for a bit. But the point is, I kind of knew this was coming, but I didn't know that this was coming. Having the leaderboards being removed entirely after Season 29, that is extremely surprising, and honestly, I'm very happy about it. However, let's finish the news article. You'll still be able to track your friends' progress on the friends page and your team's progress on your team's page, but the leaderboards themselves will be removed December 3rd. So yeah, I mean, end of Season 29, right? So right before Season 30. In the meantime, we've moved the location of the leaderboards link from the main nav to the user dropdown where you can find it when logged in. As always, have a great race day. So obviously what they're talking about is instead of having it up at the top right here, it's actually underneath your like drop down menu, underneath your name. As you can see, it's leaderboards right there, and you can still go to it, of course. They haven't removed it yet. However, on December 3rd, supposedly, this entire page, this massive part of the site will be removed. Now, let me first talk about why they did this, obviously. And they listed a couple reasons in the news post itself. However, they did not go into terribly depth about it. So the first part is obviously health, right? They want to care about people's health, and they don't want kids injuring themselves over the game. This is a point that Titanium Tendons brought up during the summer when he said that captains who are encouraging people to hurt themselves over the game, especially little kids, that should not be a part of the leaderboards, and he was obviously very correct. I even made a video talking about that specific point back in the summer. And of course, Nitro is acknowledging that. They don't want people hurting themselves. They don't want kids hurting themselves. They don't want people hurting themselves. Woohoo! I don't want people hurting themselves. And this was also one of the reasons that things like massive session rewards got removed. Things like the Typing Demon and Emperor, Empress, whatever. And it's also the reason that the King of the Race cars were hidden past like 20k or whatever it is. I forget. But Nitro has shown before that they care about people's health. And I think this is another reason they're showing it is because they just don't want people grinding. And obviously, if we look at, the top of the leaderboard, we see another problem than simply people hurting themselves. There's a lot of cheaters. Yay! Woohoo! So this is a problem that Nightstripe actually didn't go over in the news post at all, but obviously we need to bring it up. Cheating on Nightstripe is a massive problem. If we look at the leaderboard, there's a lot of cheaters. We get it. Yes. If you are at all involved in the Nightstripe community, you will know so much about this. Because in fact, cheating and the leaderboards has been one of the biggest topics in Nightstripe community for so long that it has honestly gotten incredibly boring. In my response to Travis, I said that community is dominated by the leaderboards and especially cheaters, right? It's literally all we talk about. If you guys spend any time in the Nightstripe Discord, it's always about the botters, it's always about the leaderboards, it's always about the cheaters, all of that. And that's obviously not really what the game should be about, right? If a bunch of players spend like 24/7 just discussing the cheating players, it's not really good. It's not good, guys. And I think that if you take away the leaderboards, you got to consider what is Nitro, right? While the leaderboards obviously have a lot of flaws, and if I go through them quickly, besides obviously people hurting themselves and cheaters, the leaderboards are not especially skill rewarding. The point system is incredibly bad. And they don't give any rewards whatsoever, so there's no point in having them in the first place. Plus, it encourages people to start looking up to these people on the top of the leaderboard as role models, which isn't good because then you get more people wanting to grind, and more people grinding is not good because then you get more people hurting themselves, and then that's just not good for anyone, right? So, what happens if we take away the leaderboards? Right? The leaderboards have dominated Nitro type for a long time now. All the most well-known people are from the leaderboards. All the most well-known teams are obviously from the leaderboards, right? Etc., etc. Almost all of the profile views in this game have been from the leaderboards. It just shows how influential the leaderboards are on this game. So what is a Nitro type without the leaderboards? First off, team competition is kind of gonna be screwed. Obviously, team competition was screwed anyways because of the botting, but before this, right, like say 3 months before this when botting wasn't really an issue, team competition, it wasn't bad. Right? It wasn't necessarily bad. I really enjoyed seeing, people rally around a captain or a goal or a motto or something like that to try and beat out all the other teams, right? Season 21 with Shell Riders and Syndicate was probably the most entertaining part of this site I've ever seen, right? Team competition can potentially be one of the funniest, most hilarious, most toxic, like literally clowniest parts of this site. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Before all the botting happened, team competition was at the same time toxic and hilarious, and I laughed at it. And it was obviously a really influential part of the site as well. However, because the botting started to happen, team competition just became less and less important, or less and less important, not important, but less and less, you didn't care about it as much, because it just turned into a game of who could bot the most without getting their team disbanded, and we don't really like that, right, because then it just turns into who can bot the most without their team getting disbanded. So team competition was already kind of at a standstill of sorts. It wasn't really thriving whatsoever. So I'm not going to be terribly sad to see it go. However, if we could revert back to the team competition we had back in like 2019, that would be cool. But of course, that's just not going to be a thing whatsoever because the team leaderboard is obviously being removed. Now, for the solo leaderboard, removing the leaderboards will obviously make it so less people grind. I say this somewhat shaky. I will know because I grinded. Okay. A lot of you guys might not know this, but I was actually like a top 50 leaderboarder back in, I think it was season 12. I forget. Yeah, season 12, I ranked 31st. I think season 14th or something, I ranked somewhere. Season 11, I ranked 35th. So as someone who has grinded this game a considerable amount before, I know personally that it is hard to get yourself out of that addiction phase, right? I've been addicted to plenty of games. It's hard to get unaddicted. I think that a lot of people that are so used to grinding this game, people like Wildflower, who have just consistently grinded it for years on end, it's going to be somewhat hard to snap out of that phase of, I don't have to grind anymore. And I think that removing the leaderboards might honestly push that to the edge, right? People like Wildflower might stop grinding, right? For these grinders, they've potentially done everything in the game. They just grind because of the leaderboards, but if the leaderboards are removed, what do they have left to do? I could even see a world in which removing the leaderboarders would cause plenty of grinders to simply quit, right? Because if you take out the fact that there's King of the Race cars, they don't have much else to go for in the game, right? They're probably already rich, they probably already have cool cars, they're on a team, they're well known, whatever. So the only thing is to keep grinding, to quit, or to get faster. And see, this is where we get to the big penultimate point of this video. If we remove the activity leaderboards, this only gives people the purpose to use Nitro to actually improve their speed. Whoa! Using a typing site to actually improve your speed? What? Imagine that! I say it as a joke, but it's actually kind of funny how there's hundreds and maybe even thousands of people in this game who simply grind and don't improve their speed, right? People like Wildflower, who has done 600,000 races and is still very, very slow. So, that's the other option, right? If we see the leaderboards removed, these grinders could take the time to actually try and focus on getting faster, which is what typing is all about, getting faster, more accurate, more consistent, right? That's amazing, right? I think that that's the best case scenario. If when the leaderboards are removed, all the grinders sit down and they're like, maybe, just maybe, I should learn how to be a better typist. I say this with complete confidence because I truly believe that when you remove the leaderboards, there's not much of a point in grinding, right? Either you play the game because it's fun and you want to grind, but if you grind long enough, it's just not fun, so that doesn't really work. The King of the Race cars are hidden, so a lot of people who are new to the game might not even know those exist, so you're left with no other option to actually start improving your typing skills. Fantastic! Let's go! It's actually somewhat funny that we had to go to this length to get people to start getting better at typing when that should have been what people were doing all along. Oh well. However, besides all that, if you remove the leaderboards, you're also taking out a massive community aspect of the game, right? People bonded over teams, over grinding, over being a top player, whatever. However, if you consider that I'd say a maximum of 200 people are on the leaderboards, right? Some of them are shared between different leaders. I'd say a maximum of 200 people are on the leaderboards. Then think about how many people aren't on the leaderboards. Millions, in fact, aren't on the leaderboards. That's incredible to think about. That besides the top, 100 players that everyone cares about, there's millions of people in this game. I think that's a number that a lot of people who play this game, especially community members, don't understand. The community, which I would reckon there's only less than 10,000 people who would be considered in the community, it pales in comparison to the numbers of people who are simply players instead of part of the community. It's really insane. And once you take away that element of community, I think it's really interesting to see what the community is going to start to bond over, right? Because as a community, as a Discord, as all of these chatting services and YouTube channels, we've been so focused on the leaderboard for such a long time that when you remove the competitive play from the game, what is there to think about, right? What is there to talk about? You know, we can't sit around talking about like new track and stuff like that for 17 hours a day, although you'd be surprised what people could talk about for 17 hours a day. However, I think that once the leaderboards will be removed, it'll kind of weaken this bond of community, even though they cause so much like toxicity in Discord and they weren't good, right? I'm looking at this page right now. This is not what we want. However, I think that it'll weaken the community by removing it because you're removing such a vital element of what makes up the community. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what happens to the Nitro community once the leaderboards are removed. You just need to understand one thing, right? If there's one thing you need to get by watching this video, especially for anyone who would say that they're a member of the community, Nitro type does not usually care about the community. This is because there's about, 10,000 people who could be considered to be community members. There's about 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, a very large number in comparison, member of people who simply play during school, for fun, whatever, but they're not part of the community. So, the numbers don't line up. And even if removing the leaderboards is an awful change for the community, right? Let's say it ruins the community. I don't think that would happen, but let's say it does. Nitro Type still doesn't care because the community is only the smallest fraction of the player base. It doesn't end up mattering at all. And so this is why I think that you need to consider how I guess, it's so weird. Because the leaderboard is such a vital part of the community that I'm trying to imagine Nitro Type without it. I'm happy. I think it's a great change, but I just don't see how the community is going to stay as strong as it has, I guess. It's really, really interesting. But I guess we'll wait for December 3rd, right? December 3rd, that is when the leaderboards are supposedly being removed, and for now, you can obviously see them on right here, guys. 29 seasons, multiple years of play. In fact, technically 30 seasons because of season 0.5. That's just incredible to think of how long just seasons have lasted on this game, right? How long competitive leaderboards have lasted on this game. That's incredible. However, bottom line, I think that this change will hopefully make people stop grinding the game as much, hopefully stop kids from hurting themselves, but it'll also take out a massive amount of community, such as the teams community and the competitive community, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this ends up doing to the site and how this will affect how the community starts to revolve around itself in coming months. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I know this was a super long video, but I did want to talk about this subject for a while, and I will probably still be talking about for a while because this is obviously a very, very big change, right? The leaderboards have been on this site longer than this site's been. Like, the leaderboards have literally been on this site since the flippin' like prehistoric times, okay? It's just insane to think about. Which is why I was so shocked when I saw the news post. I was like, what? They're actually doing it? I was like, I did not think Nitro would be doing it. However, 1 month, or even less, no, wait, about a month and a half, and they're gone forever. Insane. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this extremely long discussion with myself, drop a like, subscribe, whatever. Let me know what you think about this change. I am super, super interested to hear what you guys think. Especially considering what percentage of my viewers are like community members, what percentage of my viewers are just normal Nitro players. I want to see a bunch of different opinions. I truly do want to see what you guys think. So, drop a couple paragraphs down in the comment section. It's right down there, guys. You can reach it. Anyways, if you enjoyed, subscribe. I don't know. My throat's like literally dying. So I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye, everyone, and have, as always, a wonderful day. Peace.